My name is Jane Bernard, and I'm really thrilled to have Chrissy Joy, who is an amazing dog trainer and educator, joining. And there's so many things that she does, joining us tonight. If you don't know me, I'm Jane Bernard. I'm the founder of WagWorthy Naturals, and we make healthy natural supplements for dogs that optimize your dog's happy dance. I'm going to drop the links to our website, which is wagworthynaturals.com, and our Instagram, which is at wagworthynaturals. No surprise there. And I'm also going to be dropping all of Chrissy's links and contacts, so you'll be able to reach out to her as well. I do these yappy hours every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we've had so many great guests on, conversations related to all things dogs. So please feel free to join us every week. It's always something different, and it's always different people that come on. It's really fun to connect and meet in this way. And when COVID happened, I just started feeling a little bit isolated. So it's great. This has been a great way to connect. So I want to tell you a little bit about Chrissy. She's a celebrity dog trainer and educator, as I said, and Beasley, who's there with her, is a celebrity himself. You've probably seen him in Chewy commercials, and he has a starring role in a feature film that was just released. He is a spy dog in Agent Toby Barks, which was done by Lionsgate Film. And I haven't seen it yet, but it is out to stream and to order a DVD. And I can't wait to watch it because the clips I've seen are adorable. Anyway, getting back to Chrissy, she's a National Stunt Dog Champion. She's a certified trick dog instructor, a canine conditioning coach, a vet tech, an actor, and she's also a trainer with BFF Pet Services, which you can find online. And what I really love about Chrissy is that her focus is, in terms of training, is really about building a better relationship with your dog. And it includes not only their, training, but also both their physical health and their mental fulfillment and well-being. And I really appreciate that. And so she's got two dogs that have starring roles in commercials. Whidbey is your other dog. So anyway, Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. He's so cute.
You're so welcome. He's listening to you as you're talking. It's really cute. He looks at the camera once in a while, and I just keep rewarding him for it. Or Beasley, can you go look? Who is that? Go look.
Hey, Beasley.
Go say hi to her. So, no, thank you so much for having us. You and I touched base, gosh, it's maybe even a year now. It was a good amount of time ago. I remember seeing your products come out, and I think I reached out to you, or I forget who reached out to each other first, but I was so passionate about having something that was going to benefit my dog, but also come from such natural sources. So, but it's so funny because when we got on the phone, we just connected.
Yeah.
So it was more than just a influencer brand type relationship. We really connected on so many levels. So talking to you again and being here tonight is so special, with so much that has happened since the first time we talked to now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this evening, we're going to talk about, helping our dogs that are fearful, shy, or anxious, or reactive in some way, and how to help them overcome these challenges. Also, I know you're going to weave in, if we've got a puppy or a young dog, how we can work to make sure that they don't become fearful, anxious, shy, or afraid of some things. So are these kind of patterns and habits difficult to break for our dogs?
So, and again, if anyone has questions, I really love debate and dialogue and stuff. So feel free to add stuff to the chat or chime in. So there's a lot of theories behind this. There's a theory that you have genetics that play a role. So I hate to say a poorly bred dog, but sometimes you do have a bad mixture of genetics that causes the dog to be more nervy, let's say, or have more certain drives, like prey drive, which could play a role into this overly sensitized reactive behavior, or obsessive compulsive behavior, which we see in some of our herding breeds. So yes, there is some things that go into the mix to set your dog up for harder situations. But I do believe, especially in the formidable growth months of that dog, that you do have to play such a strong role in the socialization and desensitization for that dog. But not everybody has the value of getting their dog as a puppy. So if you've rescued a dog that's maybe 2 or 3 years old, you may be working with prior experiences that have now solidified into a behavior,
Hmm.
or you may be working with a dog who has lack of prior experiences, which is causing these new behaviors. Um, for example, maybe the dog never really had a walk, so never really on a leash outside. I know some dogs that were purely house dogs, just went out to the bathroom, that's it, or were such a nuisance and a problem to the family, they were even confined to certain rooms. So therefore, you're going to see more fear and reactivity going out into a new environment like outdoors. Or you have the other dog who has great breeding or possibly great socialization. We take him for walks all the time. We go to the dog park, but man, I have no control when he's out there. Well, so you may have a dog that has had lots of great socialization, but is not mentally and physically satisfied enough and
Oh,
has enough boundaries to understand how to act appropriately when in these situations.
okay.
So it is a case by case basis, but there's a few things that you can certainly do now based on whether you have a puppy or an adult dog to help curb some of those bad behaviors and to help drive some of these behaviors that helps our dog be satisfied mentally and physically.
All right, great. That's really helpful and insightful. And I know that fear and anxiety are complicated emotions. And sometimes my dog will do things and I don't really understand where the behavior is coming from. Is it really important to have a clear understanding of what triggers our dogs before, starting this type of training or working with them? Or because sometimes I'm puzzled, frankly.
Sure. And I always recommend, I'm a trainer at BFF Pet Services. So I always recommend to anyone at home with troubles with their dog to reach out to a local trainer they can work with or someone they trust. Or I will self plug here. You can do privates with us on Zoom um, to help define what is going on with your dog. Because, what we may define something as aggression may be something that's caused by fear. So there may be something that's chaining that along, and it's not really true aggression, but it's more defensiveness.
Hmm.
We see that a lot. All the way to the spectrum of hyperactivity. Why is my dog chewing on the furniture, destroying the backyard? Well, there's so many reasons, but when I start learning that, well, they work long hours, well, it's 14-hour shifts and they barely walk the dog. And, you know, then you can start to put together the equation of, okay, well, it looks like because of these situations, why this may be happening and offer some solutions. So I always recommend to reach out to a dog trainer who can help you kind of individualize that case and find a solution. But, you have to understand fear. So fear, can be a reaction because of their environment. So it can be, when we talk about operant conditioning, that is where, so operant conditioning is a type of training, and that's where the dog does something in in succession to something that happens in their environment. So this could be good or bad. So for example, you have a treat, you ask your dog to sit because of what you're doing, the dog offers to sit. Or it could be the opposite. Because the thunderstorm goes off, your dog hides under the couch. So it's the environmental stimulus that causes this reaction, whether it's good or bad. So what we try to do is we try to see what is causing the lead up to that behavior,
Hmm.
the chain of events, and we either try to change the chain of events or teach the dog what they should do instead when that thing happens.
Okay.
So in terms of COVID and going back to work, when you leave your dog at home, all of a sudden, if you haven't prepared for this transition, you may notice some behavioral changes in your dog. It can be anywhere of destruction to depression. So, what can you do to try to curb some of this separation anxiety or, lethargy? Beasley has separation anxiety. He is actually terrible in a crate. He's terrible in a crate. So we have gone around the ring several times to teach him about being okay while we're not there in the home.
Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the things that we can do if we've got a dog with some difficult behaviors? How can we desensitize them? I know you have a lot of techniques. Can you give us just a few simple examples of things that we can do?
Definitely. So one of the things we openly share through BFF is that if you have a puppy right now, and I'm telling you, working at the vet, we see 2 to 3 new puppies a day come through that hospital. So new puppies is like the thing right now. But if you do have a new puppy at home and you're unable to take that puppy to, places to get this dog used to people and smells and other dogs, et cetera, you just haven't had the chance. Not doing that for your dog can be detrimental. So how can you do it safely? One thing that I love to do from home is get on YouTube and do some sound desensitization. So this is where you can choose. I have a playlist that I love to share, and I can certainly send you guys the link after this. I could put it in the chat or send it to you, Jane, and you can certainly, we could put it in the Instagram post.
Okay.
But it's all about thunderstorms, fire alarms in the house. It can also be fire trucks, any kind of alarms. How about dogs barking? Who has a dog who's highly reactive to other dogs barking?
Yeah.
You can I've had people who have service dogs do like the airport. For me, for live performances, I do crowds cheering, PA, popping sound. Just use that to your advantage, especially thunderstorms and fireworks, because we know that's a go-to on July 4th. And when summer hits with the storms, a lot of dogs are not okay with this. So what do? You start it really low in your house and you incorporate a lot of play with the dog so that the sound becomes kind of the afterthought, and that the engagement of play overrides the value of the sound. So you always want to win on the scale of value for your dog. So is it the squirrel, right? Or is it you? So you want to make sure you tip the scale in your favor. So that also goes with working through fear. On a note there's always this thought of, well, if my dog's afraid of it, I need to immerse them in it so they don't care anymore. That can actually be detrimental. So if you do notice your dog has a fear to something or a situation, instead of going from 0 to 60 with it, I would detract from that situation, analyze your dog's condition. So, get them to a place they feel safe again, and then slowly work them back into that situation that they showed some resistance.
So start with the volume really low and do it in little increments. Don't just.
Yep. So I would do not when they're tired, because yes, they're tired. You think they wouldn't care, but because they're tired, they might not be thinking rationally, because they're exhausted or they did a big play session. So I like to do it when their energy is high and you have a high value either treat or toy. So if your dog is obsessed with the ball, I would take the ball away for a few days, and then I would put the thunderstorm sounds on low and bring the ball out, and your dog used to be like, I don't care what's on. You could have heavy metal. Let's do this, because they're so excited to engage with the ball. And then maybe you can work through some of that. I've done even guns firing off and shooting, not because we have that issue here, but Beasley's next movie is it's a Revolutionary War period. So I can only imagine what he's going to have to be used to out there.
I see. And then what about, so if you start with playing sounds, what about, for example, if somebody's dog freaks out at the garbage truck or the UPS man, right? Then yes, you could play the sound of the UPS truck or the garbage truck on YouTube and do the treats. And then what do you do once the garbage man is picking up, it's garbage day, or
right,
the UPS truck shows up? How can you, I know you're taking steps by playing the sounds, but then what do you do in the moment when you're confronted with the item of, that triggers them?
Sure. So what you can do in a situation like that is, so for example, let's use the UPS guy. That's a good one. So let's pretend it's the doorbell, right? Because that's generally what can happen. So when it comes down to something like that, like the doorbell, and I'm not sure, my connection looks a little iffy. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to the doorbell or something like that, obviously you've done doorbell sounds, you've played with your dog thinks it's great. But then when the actual doorbell hits, they may be like, wait, someone's at the front door, right? Different situation. So what you can start to do is when you play these doorbell sounds, associate it with what they should do instead. So what I basically do is I'll do doorbell and they'll start to react. I said, leave it. And I'll say, go to your mark or go place or go to your bed. And they learn to go to their bed, and they learn that because of the doorbell, they get a very high value reward on their bed or in their place wherever they should go. So instead of seeing the doorbell as an opportunity to react with barking, they'll see it as an opportunity to go and get that high value reward. So it's kind of like Pavlov's theory, if anybody is familiar with that. Every time the guy rung the bell, the dogs would start drooling because they associated being fed with the bell ringing. So it's very similar to that theory. And we want the dog to kind of rewire their mind into learning that they don't get the payoff by what? Barking and greeting the person at the door, because that's their payoff. Seeing somebody at the door, barking, getting that out of their system. What the new value is they will not get the value at the door. Their value is at the bed or whatever. But you have to make sure that you're not using the everyday dog treat, guys. This is like bring out the cheese, bring out the filet mignon of whatever your dog loves. Or if your dog loves a toy and that's his wubba, that's his baby, that's his ball. I personally, I put that toy away. I only let them have it when we're doing some sort of training or something. I want them to really work with me to get the reward. So in my house, you'll never find balls or squeaky toys just loose on the floor because my dog Whidbey is like obsessed with it. So in my mind, I'm going, perfect. So when the pizza guy comes, I grab the ball and Whidbey's like, who cares about the pizza guy? Because mom's got the ball. And all I have to say is like, go to your bed. And then his reward is I throw it down the hall. And he's like, who cares at the door? I'm so excited to have my favorite toy. But if your value isn't high enough, your dog's going to go, nah. It's kind of like me saying, listen, Xavier, if you sit in the chair, I'll give you $50, right? So every time you choose to sit in that chair on your own, I'm going to give you $50.
Sounds like a good.
Probably, right? You'll probably find a few. If I said I'll give you $1, you might weigh it and go, nah, it's not really worth my time.
Right.
But if I'm going to give you $50 every time you decide to go there, then I mean, you're like, yeah, I'll find some time in my day to do that. Why not? So we want the dog to start thinking that way as well. Okay, what's the payoff? So my dogs don't run after squirrels because they realize that, first of all, if they go after it, there's reprimand and there's negative correction, whatever. But if they choose to come back to me, oh my gosh, I'm like chucking treats, I'm throwing a party. Like they learn. So now when my dogs see squirrels or people on the trail, they actually go, I saw a squirrel. I saw a squirrel. Did you see a squirrel, Mom? I saw a squirrel. Do I get a treat now? I saw him. I saw him. So they actually like find it a game to be like, I saw him, pay me, pay me, pay me. So I want to rewire the way your dog thinks. And this is the same for anything with fear related issues like your separation anxiety, or if anybody has dogs who don't like the crate and they want to crate, that can be a big challenge. Or if you leave the home and they're showing some destructive behaviors, that is something you also want to rewire that. But to end on this part of my conversation is, if your dog is showing behaviors, and you can nod your head if you're seeing anything at home, or shake your head no if you're fine, thumbs up, thumbs down, make sure your dog is mentally and physically satisfied. So again, I can walk my dogs for 3 miles. And that's a pretty good walk for a dog, a hike, right? So they're really running more like 4 or 5, but we're on a hike. But that doesn't mentally satisfy my dog. So while I physically tired them out, mentally, they still have lots of energy. So what can you do to satisfy both of those areas? So they'll say, well, I run my dog every day at the dog park. I don't understand why he's destroying my socks and doing this. Because your dog's bored. So he might be physically tired, but mentally he's still bored. He wants to do something. So this is where like having puzzle toys at home is so great for your dog. If you've never seen one, like anything that dispenses food, So this one is heavy, so it stays upright, but it wobbles all around your house and it dispenses food. So if you work really early in the morning and you have to get out of the house or whatever, or you need some time to yourself, which we all do, and your dog's like, quarantine, I'm going to be glued to you. I like to teach my pets some independent play where it's like, listen, I love you, but I'm going to load this with food, maybe part of your breakfast. Because remember, a lot of calories mean a lot of energy. So don't like give your dog extra food.
Right.
But use some of their breakfast, put it in here, put it down, and teach them to keep themselves busy and keep themselves occupied and not always wondering, where's mom? Where's dad? Or I don't know how to keep myself busy, or I'm bored, so I'm going to go while you're working on the computer and I'm going to go get in the trash can. Your dog's bored. That's why they're doing these behaviors. So do something that they can do. It's like taking the child away from the stove. You don't just like scold them, but you generally say, you can't touch that, but here's your own little play kitchen to play with. You show them what they can do.
That's great. Who is that particular, is that a Kong?
Yeah, so this is Kong. They're one of our sponsors, and I'm going to be doing some training videos with them soon. Really easy concept. It just,
nice.
Untwist it and then put it together. I mean, if you guys want to see some puzzle toys, all I have to do is open that closet over there. There's so many. I have some really neat ones. This is a unique one that I like to show all of my friends. This is called the Foobler. Whidbey loves this one. It has chambers. Yes, Whidbey. So what you can do is put their breakfast in it. And let's say you work like an 8-hour day or you're going to be gone. The other end, it opens up and you can choose the time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60. And then every 30 or 60 minutes, you can hear that dinging. Mm-hmm. So what it does is it dings, the chamber turns, and then the dog has to bump it around the house to get one of the chambers to empty its treats or food. And then 15 minutes later, or whatever you set it at, it'll keep doing that until all of these chambers are empty, which is a great way to keep your dog doing something else other than getting into other things around your home. And also if your dog just sleeps all day, they're not always doing that because they're tired. They could be doing that because a little bit of depression if they're not getting enough activity, and again, boredom.
Yeah. And who is that also made by Kong?
This is the Foobler, so it's one of its own.
Okay.
Most of the ones that I love to use are by Kong because they're very easy to use and you can generally leave your dog with them. But this is Foobler. It kind of stands on its own, but Chewy does sell this one.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Awesome. Those are great tips and techniques. And so it sounds like daily repetition of whatever you're trying to work on in terms of desensitizing your dog is really the way to go and the way to build that habit, working on it over and over and over again.
Yeah, and also, I recommend, I don't know if anybody here can like give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Are you guys going back to work? Are you currently working? Are you home all day? Feel free to chime in. Anybody at home? No. Thumbs up? Or
I'm working.
From home or in an office?
In an office.
Office. Were you home prior, Xavier?
Yeah, but not for very long.
Not very long. So, it's about, and we're selling a great program. I'll just sell it right now for $15 on BFF. My link is in my bio of my Instagram. And for $15, I do this like huge webinar on like getting yourself and your dog prepared for after COVID, but also this applies to like if you're ever going on vacation or you're leaving your dog with somebody else or you're about to be gone for a long time. Like how can you adjust your dog to a new schedule? So I highly suggest you take that. And that is on my link, my bio link on my Instagram at the Chrissy Joy. But look at your routine now and look at it, what it's going to become, and don't just like cut your dog like, okay, well, it's Monday, back to work to 8 hours. Dogs like routine, and so they need to adjust to a new routine. So does anybody in this room have any behaviors that they're particularly here because they're having problems or just any questions?
I will be going back to where I live. I'm staying with my son and daughter-in-law right now. They have a backyard and they have a dog. but I live in a retirement community. I have a small apartment, and I can't let my dog out without a leash. Right now, with the virus precautions, uh, it would be, we can't go off campus. We can't have visitors to our apartments. I will be going back, I would say, in about 6 weeks, but it will be a big change. Right now, my grandsons, who are 16, walk the 2 dogs. They take them for a walk every day in the neighborhood. And then the dogs can go out in the backyard. There's a doggy door. So, and she has the companionship of another dog, and she's crazy about my daughter-in-law. She follows her around all day. So it's going to be a big change for her to go back to a small apartment. And I don't know if the dog park is opened up. I used to take her there for an hour every morning, but I won't do that until it's safe.
I think those are good concerns to have, because not only are you changing in the size of place you're going to live in, but also in the ways the dog's going to get exercise. So when you do foresee something like this happening, what I do say is look at your situation you're going to go into and what's going to change. So your dog's going to have less off leash time and freedom to go use the bathroom. So as you get nearer to that time of being back at home, you will want to start delegating certain potty times for your dog and maybe limit the doggy door. This is because your dog kind of has to get back on schedule, but if you're home with her, that's great. If you were going back to work, I'd say let's nix the doggy door and try to get on routine right now. Or maybe just say, hey, you got 3 hours of free play, but I'm going to make sure you do your potty in the morning and at night. Because if you're home, that's fantastic because you can help to delegate that routine. But also I would highly suggest, because she's had so much interaction with people and another dog and so much stimulation, that you do look into some Kong puzzle toys where you can not just have your dog eat out of a bowl. I actually don't really feed my dogs out of bowls anymore, but I fill a few puzzle toys around the house and let them burn out some of that mental energy and physical energy by using their brain to do something like that. So now she's going to have no little furry buddy to run around with, and possibly no kids walking her, I'm not sure, but everything that she's used to in her social life is going to change. So what I would do is I'd incorporate some puzzle toys and also try to plan one time a day you actually do take her out for some physical exercise, what you can do with her. But also, if you can't do a whole lot of physical exercise because of restrictions, puzzle toys are my go-to for that. There's so many different ways you can do that.
Jane's been telling me about that too. She also reacts to and barks at any delivery man. She is a herding type dog, so I assume it's in her nature. But my daughter-in-law calls her, and then she runs in the other room after my daughter-in-law when that barking starts.
Right. So that kind of goes back to my theory that we do a lot at BFF, which is teaching your dog a place to go that offers a high value. So when she does do something like that, instead of like reprimand, if you do have to reprimand, that's something on you to say no, so they understand not to do it. But then you have to follow up with what they should be doing. So if it's go to the couch and sit and wait there and you're giving her a bunch of treats there, then she's got to learn that, like, okay, you alerted me, I got it, because they're protecting you. Go to your place or go to your bed or whatever it is, and then have treats by that front door so you can easily get her what is high value to her. Or like for me, it's so easy. It's literally like string cheese. My dogs are obsessed with cheese. So am I. So we all work well together. You can't have cheese in this house longer than like a week. But we use cheese to kind of be like, this is where you go. This is high value. And they learn. So they get so excited when I kind of snap them out of their moment of barking and I say, go to your place. They're like, oh yeah, let's go. So just slowly retrain that. Another thing, guys, I don't know if anybody does it at home. Have you ever heard of dog TV? Head shaking yes. Does anybody know dog TV? So dog TV is so cool. It's not just squirrels and rabbits on a TV screen for your dog, although yes, that's what they do. It's actually tailored to be a better visual experience for your dog. So the colors are a little different. The dogs can see. Yeah. So the sounds are on the waves that are more appealing to your dog. Because remember, They hear things at a different capability than even we can. So the colors are adjusted. That's why it looks kind of weird quality sometimes when you watch it. But to a dog, it's actually meant to stimulate them more. So you can have some real, and it's supposed to be very calming. It's not meant to make your dog super reactive to squirrels. I just use that as an example, but it's actually meant to be very calming to your dog, but also give them some stimulation as far as sound and sight. So I know they're offering like a free month special not too long ago, but you might want to look into dog TV for your own at home if you think your dog's going to be home for a while and maybe lack of stimulation.
That's a great suggestion. Do they have commercials on dog TV?
I don't know, but I would assume
that
they
was
do.
kind of meant to be sort of
Yeah.
tongue in
I
cheek.
I don't know, but it was, I hopefully
You
the
know,
dog commercials.
So you're going to come home and your dog's going to say, Mom, you've got to get me this new toy, or,
That's right.
you know.
Or you're
this-
like wondering why your Facebook feed is like full of dog products and you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Those are
Yeah.
really, that's great suggestions. Does anybody else have any questions for Chrissy, or want to share an experience that they're having with their dog that they're struggling with or challenged by?
I have a question. Lately, the past 2 weeks, Biggie, when I take him for a walk and we're coming back home, he'll just sit.
Okay. So
He'll just be like, all right, not, and he'll look at me and it's like, yeah, I'm sitting down. And he hasn't done that before.
where is he doing it? Is he doing it in the home or is he doing it during the walk?
During the walk, and it's usually when we get to the corner, like where he sees our house. And then he's like, yeah, no. And
So
then,
like, yeah, no, I don't want to go home.
yeah, like he just sits and he looks at me like, and it's like deliberate. Like he just sits down and it's like, I'm not moving.
Does he
And
want to try to go a different direction or is he just sitting?
he just sits. And if a couple of times, if I look like I'm gonna go past the house, then he'll get up and he'll go. But then other times though, he'll just sit. And I'm like, what is that?
There's a few things there. Now, again, I'm not a vet. So again, I highly suggest that you go to your vet and just narrow down like any physical problems, things in the hips that might be causing discomfort, anything like that. I'm not one to go there, but you could try to shake up your pattern of how you walk. So change your route and just see if that throws things off enough that it's not the same routine. I know for a fact that my dog will try to choose one direction over the other. And your dog may be asking for a longer walk. They could be putting their butt down, but as soon as you act like you're not going that direction, they start to get up because they're like, oh, good, we're going this way. So what you can do to kind of combat that, especially if you're on a certain time frame, is maybe just do the walk in reverse pattern, or just try a new pattern altogether and see if it's more of a mental game he's doing with you versus, something that's actually wrong with them. And then another thing is you can kind of, how I like to say, it's kind of like reverse psychology. Bring treats with you and ask for a sit a few times on the walk and reward it. So then when he does it, you can kind of capture it, like sit, oh good, you sit, okay, come on, let's go. And kind of throw it into the routine so he doesn't think that what he's doing is really sending you a message at all, because it's something you're doing during the walk anyway. So it's kind of like reverse psychology in a way that it might just snap him out of it, and you might, be more interested in doing things for you to get a reward. Hi, come here.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, I don't know how old he is, but if there is any risk of maybe hip issues or any kind of possible soreness, especially if he's sitting a few times on the walk, again, and I know this is not like a topic everyone wants to talk about at night, but think about if there's any issues with the anal glands. This is allergy season, and if dogs tend to have allergies, that area can get irritated. And then especially if they're using the bathroom on their walk, and don't express their anal glands, sometimes they sit because they have discomfort and they try to like rub their butt or they're just uncomfortable. So there's a few things there that you might want to check off your list before you believe it may just be a mental game he's playing with you.
Okay. Yeah, he's 7. I mean, he does have arthritis.
Okay.
But when we go for a walk, it's usually it's not that long of a walk. and I try to keep him on grass.
Sure.
But I have noticed that the past couple weeks where he's just, and he'll just look at me, and I bring the high value treats for
Sure.
emergency, and then
Sure.
he's like, and then what I've been doing is I just wait, and I let him
Right.
sit there, and then at some point he's like, okay, I'm ready to go.
And honestly, that could be him going through some discomfort, being like, I just need a minute. He, on really hot walks, will hit up every neighbor's yard and just unleash. All of a sudden, he does like fainting goat, and he just like flops on his side. And I could literally pull him while he's laying on his back on the harness, because he's just kind of like telling me, I'm hot, I need a second. So I wait with him, and everyone looks like I killed my dog as they drive by. And then he eventually just pops up and he's ready to go again. So, it could be, especially if you think arthritis could be a part of it, see your vet and discuss maybe if there's an adjustment to any pain relief you're using or a joint supplement. And maybe, like I said, also try to shake up the routine. See if it is the routine that he's kind of like, I'm kind of over this.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that tomorrow morning. We'll go
Yeah.
a day and see.
Just try to go a different way or reverse it. And honestly, or walk on the other side of the street. You'd be surprised, like just changing sides, it's like a whole new world of smells for them. So they're like, oh, this is wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had someone who I don't know, hopefully they're on the call, but someone who messaged me and said that they're struggling with harness training their dog or putting a harness on their dog, and that's really been a challenge. Do you have some recommendations or suggestions if someone's struggling with harness training?
Yes. I wonder if that person's here. Is that person here at all? If not, that's fine. I'll still go over it. So actually, luck would have it, Whidbey hates putting it over his head. Can't stand it. So I have absolutely zero experiences in his history of why. He just doesn't like the small thing going over his head. So, what I do is again, high value reward, and I will just hold it in front of him with the high value reward, and my arm is through the harness, and I'll just feed it. I'll have the harness up, and I'll just be feeding him high value reward. I wish I had a harness down here to show you. And then eventually what I'll do is I'll ask him to bring his head a little closer to the opening of the harness, high value reward, high value reward. And then hopefully get his head through high value reward before I lay it on his back. Now, this may not happen in one fell swoop. So of course you're going to want to work up to this. So I just always suggest, like, if you have another way to walk them, maybe on a collar, do that while you work towards the harness. But don't try to back your dog up into a corner or rush it, because like if you create more fear, then the next time they're like, yeah, I remember that. I'm not doing that again. So what I really like to do is make it a positive experience. So I might just put it on the ground and sprinkle treats around it. Like the same with the vacuum is I'll have like a vacuum on the ground. I'll just put treats around it and make it real fun. I won't even turn it on. Same thing with the harness, like make it something that's just it's not unique. It doesn't come creeping out of the closet and they know what's coming. So just make it a part of their everyday, but it doesn't always mean it's going over their head. So, I might have it on the ground. He's playing with ball. It's around, it's near, not a big deal. Maybe once in a while I'll pick it up and I'll put it back down on the ground and we play more. Or I'll pick it up like I'm going to put it on him, because you can see the look in his face. He goes, uh-oh. But I'll feed him treats and just put it back on the ground and just kind of fake him out, because every time you pick it up, if it means it's going over their head, then they just associate. And then it's like anybody who deals with anxiety, they just take that little thought and they run with it. So you want to kind of, just take away those layers of the anticipation that they could do. But again, if you're like, well, my dog's not really food motivated, or it's really just doesn't work, or it doesn't matter, withhold their breakfast. I mean, don't, make it be the first thing of their day that they're only going to eat breakfast if they work with me with this harness. So maybe it's, you're going to have the harness on the ground and food's going to be around it, or the harness, like here's the neck opening. My arm's going to be through it, feeding the food. And that's how you're going to eat breakfast today. And maybe the next day it's here, right? Maybe in 2 or 3 days, I've got the nose poking through it. And maybe by a week or two later, I've got the whole head through the harness. And then maybe I can finally, put it on their back and put it around their belly. But again, whatever you think for a dog, what's the steps to putting on a harness? Over the head, clip. But if a dog has fear, you need to break that into 20 steps, right? So break that down. It's like the old thing that you did in school. Write me an essay on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you're like, oh, well, that sounds kind of easy. When you actually break it down into the steps, it's like a long process to make a sandwich. So you got to think of it like that for your dog. And again, please, if you are struggling with this, contact us at BFF. We would love to train with you. We're doing $25 Zoom privates for 30 minutes. And that's a great way to get this one-on-one time so we can see what's happening in your house and put you guys to work with some good plans. So,
Chris, that's a great deal. So
it's a great deal.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested in either the $25 training session, or you also said you have a $15 course.
Yes, we have a $15 webinar on getting your dog adjusted to life changes and all the things that go along with that, and how to look at yourself, your plan personally, and how to start developing a new plan. So
I've dropped Chrissy's information into the chat, and the way that you access the chat, if it's not up for you, is you hover your cursor over the video, and then you're going to see chat come up on the toolbar at the very bottom. Just click on chat and it will.
Chat going on here. So Jane, I can't hear you at the moment, but I see a question. Multi-dog household excitement when coming home. Not all 8 dogs are loose together, but there is lots of barking. So I'm going to address this because I can't seem to. Jane, you're on mute, so maybe that's why. But if she's still here, I think Barbara's still here. Jane, you're here. Yay.
Yeah, sorry. It was a poor connection on my part.
That's okay. No worries. But I saw the question in the chat, and that's a great thing. So you come home and there's lots of barking, even if the dogs aren't all loose, and you're not coming home going, yay, right? Because we know that's what stirs up a dog. Even if your dog is, so listen, dogs have instincts. I cannot promise you that we're going to take away a dog's natural capability to want to bark. They have instinct. We can't go against the grain completely there. However, your non-exciting entrance, right? And also, before you address your dogs at all, I may tell them to go do something so that they get my greeting, which is all I need. I don't need a treat. I don't need anything like that. If I come in the door, my dogs are all stirred up around my legs and all excited. I may not even give them attention, maybe put my arms away, right? Because they want your arms, they want your face. And I might just say, go to your bed, or go play. So sit, give them something to do immediately. And then I follow up by going down to their level and breathing. The barking it's going to be an issue if you're not present and you're coming home to it. That's really hard, working against that instinct when they're on their own. So what I do suggest is that, and actually I've done this before where I have a webcam and you can speak to your dog through the webcam. And I have told my dog via webcam what to do as I'm approaching the house. So they start to bark, I'll go on my app and I'll say, this is me, hello, this is me, go to your bed. And they're like, Mom? But I actually won't come in the house until they're on their beds, which is near the door. But I want my dog to be doing a certain behavior so that when I come in the home, it's not chaos. I also have a 3-year-old, so I have to watch out for her because she becomes like a little bowling pin. It's like craziness. So it is doable. Yes, try it. And again, like if you'd love to do a private with us, please let us know, because that's something I would love to witness. If you're like, hey, I come home at 4 o'clock, I want you to see what I'm dealing with. It's a really great way for us to work through it.
Okay. And I've dropped the links, Chrissy's contact information into the chat, her website and her Instagram, so you can connect to her through either one of those. And I don't know where I disappeared in the middle of talking about hovering your cursor over the window, and you'll see the chat come down at the bottom, and you can click on the chat, and that will bring up the chat and you'll see those links. But it's chrissyjoy.com is your website, and the Chrissy Joy is your Instagram. You can also reach her through the Good Beasley.
Feel free to message me. Our deal is awesome. It's $25 for 30 minutes, $50 for a full hour. And it's not something that you have to do every week. We really give you a lot of work to do, so you could revisit monthly if you want.
Well, and also it'd be a great way to work one-on-one with you to help just solidify some tools.
Right.
So there's also a question in here. Can you recommend a puzzle toy for wet food? We mix dry food with some raw food for our 9-month-old male coonhound. That's
great. Definitely. So that's a great question, because a lot of these rock and roller type of toys are not going to go well with wet food. It's going to be more mess than it's worth. But I don't have them down here because I feed my dogs upstairs and I'm in my basement. I want you to look up slow feeders. Has anyone seen those round slow feeders with the funky designs, and you like put the food in and it just slows your dog down? So they sometimes have a swirl design or a little like checkerboard. So what I would do is I would take your coonhound's wet/dry food and I'd put it inside that puzzle feeder and then stick it in the freezer, so that when you're feeding breakfast, you now have like a puzzle toy. That's his breakfast. So now it's going to take him extra long to get through it as it thaws, but now you're making him actually work for it in like a puzzle toy type of setting.
Oh, great suggestion. And coonhounds tend to eat really fast. I know from personal experience. So.
Yes, you want to be careful that you know, don't have the risk of bloat and other things, especially in your puppy. So anything you do to slow it down.
If anyone else has a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, or raise your hand, or drop it in the chat. And while we're waiting, I actually have a question. So my dog, we adopted him when he was about 9 months old. He was picked up as a stray on an Indian reservation not far from Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I live. And I'm pretty sure he had to hunt for a living. He has a very strong prey drive. And it's funny, you know, he will welcome the UPS man or anyone who shows up all day long. But man, if a cat, a squirrel, a rabbit, or some kind of critter shows up, it is, you know, you would think that we're being robbed at gunpoint or something. You know,
wow.
He's really diligent about that.
How about the skunk?
Yeah, well, he killed a skunk too.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, at night, he is definitely, especially during the summer months when there's a lot more critter activity, he's really on the alert. And he will want to go outside and patrol, and he likes to bark.
Right.
And there's also coyotes in our neighborhood too.
Sure.
And so if he ever comes over to me, I will not get up and let him out. And he knows that, so he never bothers me. But my husband is just such a softie. And so what Ollie will do is he'll go over and continually spear my husband with his nose until my husband gets up and lets him outside.
Right.
I'd love to break that habit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
So the biggest thing there, and we say this through our training all the time, is when we have our classes in person in our facilities, we say, bring the family, please, because we need everybody to be on the same page. And that's what it really comes down to, is that you can create a new normal, but everyone's got to be following the same page. You know, if I tell my daughter to go to bed at 8, but my husband lets her go to bed at 9 every night and have an extra sweet thing or something, of course she's going to go to him and say, hey, you know. So it is about getting the whole family on board, and also not satisfying his desire to not only alert something, but then get the satisfaction and his payoff, which is go out and seek and find and go after it. Mm-hmm. So that's the same thing as like the doorbell ringing. You have to teach him like what else could or should he be doing. So, you know, it's, you know, he might bark at something and get alerted by something, but it's a leave it, no, or however you choose to train it, and then show him where he could be going or what he should be doing instead. And sometimes, and I will say, guys, sometimes the barking is so excessive and they're so out of their mind that I have used like a spray bottle with water, because it's not so much that the water's like doing anything to them, but it's enough that catches their attention and they go, oh, what's going on here? And then you can show them what they should be doing, because sometimes they're just so in the moment of their prey drive. So I would say it's probably more of a chat with your husband to get started, to not let your dog, because what if it is a coyote or something that's dangerous, and so you know, letting your dog satisfy himself by going out there and investigating could absolutely you know, be detrimental or have, you know, some bad consequences.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, it's training my husband, not my dog.
And that's the one thing everyone says, do you train my kid or husband? I say, no, I can't. I stick to the dog.
Thanks. We have another question in the chat. Do your dogs get residuals?
Oh, that's a great question. So they don't. So this is the weird thing about working dogs on set for TV and film. I was an actress for many years with the Screen Actors Guild. So being an actress, we do get residuals. So I would get checks every time, like Rachel Ray did their show in a different country, different date. I got a check in the mail. It was really nice. Dogs are actually, they fall under the prop category, believe it or not. I know, it's so sad because Beasley was the star of his movie, right? What? But yes, they do fall under the prop category. So no residuals, and there's no union. So there's no like, you know, special treatment there besides what we do for them. So you really do have to be an advocate for your dog on set, because there is, I mean, the Humane Association is present generally to make sure your dog is safe, so they could pass the production. You guys have all seen it, right? In the credits, no animal was hurt in the making of this film. So they're there to give them the bill, the stamp that says you're good, but we have to be an advocate for them because we don't have any governing agency that kind of like oversees our dog's well-being on set. So no residuals. I wish, because they've done enough work that it would be so nice if that was the case.
I just dropped the name of the movie that Beasley is starring in, which is crazy that is not getting residuals. It's called
Right.
Toby Barks. It just came out this year. It's by Lionsgate Film, and you can purchase it on DVD, and it's also available to download. And then this is a follow-up question to the residuals. Is there an animal Oscar?
There actually was, I think. So I didn't know about it, although I would have loved to see. But if anyone watched a few movies this year, I think there was one like an awards show for just animals. That's so true. They did just have one recently. I think it was like there's some movie that was like Driving in the Rain or something like that. And there's a few other movies this year that had animals in it. And one of my friends who runs an animal talent agency, a dog she used in a film actually won the like Dog of the Year animal Oscar, I guess you'd call it, which I never knew existed. I thought that was really cool. So I guess there is, but it's nothing as formal as what you would watch on TV with the whole speech and the music that tells you to get off the stage, and nothing like that so much. But man, especially what Beasley had to do. A lot of times when dogs go on set, they're just hired to be like a dog. Hey, can your dog like just be a dog? Which is not as easy as you think it would be, because a lot of our dogs act like a dog at home, but when you put them on set, it's a different world. But Beasley actually had to do all of his own tricks and stunts in this film as a spy dog. So for me, it was awesome. It was so much fun. But for working your dog on set, it was such a big task for him to be able to do things that, an actor would do. The director kept saying, I keep forgetting your dog's a dog. I'm talking to him like he's a person. Because he'd be like, can you, okay, that was great, Beasley. Can you do this next time? And I'm like, he's a dog. But he really did blow it out of the water with his performance when we were filming.
That's great. And what's the name of the talent organization that you're with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I actually we run the Bonafide Talent Group, and if anyone has dogs and they're interested in getting involved, that's why we run this group. It's called Bonafide Talent. That's AFIED. Bonafide Talent. We're on Instagram. You can go to bonafidetalent.com. So we act as a resource to all of the animal talent agencies out there. So when all the animal talent agencies get casting calls that filter through them, they look for specific dogs or, skills. And instead of running through Facebook or just trying to blindly pick talent and try to match people up, they can just come to us and we can say, hey, I know somebody in Oklahoma or I know somebody in Rhode Island. And our group does online evaluations as well as in-person workshops to make sure that like your dog is a good fit for what set work needs your dog, needs from your dog. Not every dog is built for this. So I highly recommend reaching out to them. But if you were to ask me like what animal talent agency do I work with? Several.
Mhm.
Basically as many that will work with us, but I do have some that I work more closely with than others. And Agent Toby Barks, the movie he's in, LTD Animals. So it's Living the Dream Animals, LTD. They are an animal talent agency that actually primarily does like horses and whatnot, but they do other animals such as dogs too. And they are the ones that found Beasley and I for the movie. So we like to keep our doors open, but the big thing about us is like getting you guys at home involved, because a lot of people know their dog is pretty amazing and they've spent hours and money teaching them things. I love how Biggie's on his back. Biggie's like, it is bedtime. But we just want to get you guys involved and let you enjoy what we love to do. We don't want you to feel like there's an exclusivity where you can't be a part of it too, but it takes work to do what we do.
Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
And just a follow-up to what we were talking about regarding desensitizing our dogs and working with our dogs to unlink associations and anchor in new behaviors. Is there anything else that you want to add to what we've already talked about, or a mindset that we should, something that we should keep in mind, or maybe even how to approach working with a dog? Xavier's fostering a dog. So,
Right.
when a dog come into your home, you don't really know the dog that well. So just anything else that we should keep top of mind?
Sure. I mean, I always like to put your emotions at the door when working with a problem. So, because if it happens over and over again, now you've got pent up frustration, or you've got a preconceived notion of the situation, or you think it's spite, the dog just is doing it because he's a jerk. We get in these mindsets when really we're not thinking outside of the box and kind of taking a step back and understanding what the dog's perceiving a situation as, or what are the lead ups to why the dog's doing what they're doing. I mean, I've heard situations where they're like, my dog is destroying my door frames. I don't know why, just freaking out. And then they find out a couple weeks later, it's because of the construction next door. They never even thought about it. But when they're gone at work, that's when the guy's jackhammering next door. It's taking, right. So it's about like taking a step back and evaluating the possibilities that are affecting their senses and maybe a change in routine, which can cause this. So, but also, before I end there, always consult your vet and always work with a dog trainer if possible, if you cannot diagnose these things on your own. And the vet is kind of cool because there are certain things that you can plug into your home, which act as the pheromones that the mother dog supplies to her puppies. So it's very calming. It's very natural. It's not going to make you crazy or high or anything weird, but it just takes the edge off of dogs that present certain anxious behaviors. That may be a nice thing to discuss with your vet to hopefully take the edge off. So now you can start working the problem with a dog trainer.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. That's really, really helpful. I really appreciate everybody stopping by today and participating. This has really been a helpful conversation. I've definitely learned some things that, I'm going to incorporate with my dog. And Chrissy, thank you for joining us. It's been really fun to get to spend this time with you. And just once again, I've dropped Chrissy's contact information into the chat. Also, I do these talks every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And next week, we're going to have integrative veterinarian on. He is the star of a movie called The Dog Doc, which I highly recommend. It's out there now for, it was released this year, so obviously it's not in theaters, but you can download and watch it. He has been practicing for 35 years, and he has some really interesting ways of treating cancer and looking at health. He does both Western medicine and integrative or more holistic medicine combined. And he'll be on next week. I hope you guys can join me. I was just looking to see Dog Doc, the film. Let me drop this link into the chat. So if anybody wants to check the film out, they can. And I hope to see you guys again here next Wednesday. So thanks again.
Thank you guys so much for listening to me talk and talk. I hope you guys got some good info, and feel free to reach out to me or connect with me. I'd love to follow you guys back and just keep growing this awesome world of our dog community.
Yeah, sounds great. All right. Take care, everybody.